good evening and welcome. Tonight I'm going to be reading you from this book about Pakistan. So this book, this whole book series is very old. I think it said this book came out in 2002, so all the books in the series, including this one, are very, very outdated. So some of the stats might be a little old, but you know, it's a book from 20 years ago, so anyway. So I'll show you what we'll read. We're going to read this closer look at Pakistan section. We'll read about air pollution, the art of carpet weaving, cricket, Hunza, a mountain kingdom, the Indus River, Muhammad Iqbal, Jammu and Kashmir, divided region, Muhammad Ali Jinnah, Junoon, K2, Karachi, magnificent mosques, musical traditions, the snow leopard, and women in Pakistan. So let's find it. Page 44. Here we go. Starting off about air pollution, and hopefully these stats are pretty old. Hopefully it's much better now, but I'll use my pointer pencil to read about it. It says, Pakistan's attempts to improve the living standards of its citizens and the growth of industrialization have meant that economic development has largely taken precedence over environmental issues. Today, one of the most serious concerns facing the Pakistani environment is air pollution. The problem has grown rapidly in recent years and is continuing to do so at an alarming rate. Air pollution refers to air contamination caused by toxic chemicals or other materials. The leading source of air pollution in Pakistan comes from vehicles, which release major pollutants into the atmosphere. These pollutants include carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, nitrogen oxides, and hydrocarbons. Over the past 20 years, the number of vehicles on Pakistani roads has risen at a staggering rate. In 1980, Pakistan had 680,000 cars. By 1998, this number had swelled to 3.8 million. Many of these vehicles burn poor quality fuel and emit 550 tons of lead into the atmosphere each year, degrading air quality. The quality of air in the country's towns and cities is getting worse as a result. Today, the level of air pollution in Pakistan's two largest cities, Karachi and Lahore, is estimated to be 20 times higher than World Health Organization standards and is still rising. Islamabad, the country's capital, is continuously smothered by a thick cloud of smog. It has also been estimated that 2,000 deaths a year are due to air pollution, and about 6.4 million hospital admissions and 418,000 cases of minor sickness occur every year due to illnesses related to air pollution. Too little, too late. The government has only recently begun to take action against the degrading air quality in major cities. The Pakistan Environmental Protection Council has formed a committee to look into measures that will reduce pollution in urban areas, while the authorities are investigating the possibility of using alternative fuels for vehicles. Attempts to legislate environmental protection, however, have fallen short, and regulations have not been enforced rigorously enough. It therefore remains to be seen whether the government will place greater importance on environmental protection to curb the country's environmental degradation and protect the health of its citizens. The art of carpet weaving. Some of the world's most beautiful carpets come from Pakistan. Made by skilled carpet makers, Pakistani carpets have been used traditionally for sitting, sleeping, and praying. Some carpets dating back hundreds of years record historical events that have taken place in the area now known as Pakistan. Other carpets are appreciated purely for their exquisite designs. Although the patterns for Pakistani carpets tend to vary from region to region, certain basic designs and motifs predominate, including wavy lines with abstract patterns and geometric shapes. The elephant foot design, which resembles diamond-shaped octagons, is probably the most characteristic pattern in Pakistani carpets. Other popular motifs include flowers, fruits, and animals. Pakistani carpets can contain as many as 20 different colors. Natural dyes, including the indigo plant, bark, and fruits, have traditionally been used to produce the rich, wonderful colors. In recent years, the use of chemical dyes, such as chrome dye, has increased, but vegetable dyes still remain popular. Pakistani carpets are made of various combinations of wool, cotton, and silk. In carpets, the precision in design relies on the density of the knots. The number of knots per square inch is a useful indication of the carpet's quality and durability. The finest Pakistani carpets can have up to 2,500 knots per square inch. A step back in time. Carpet weaving in Pakistan began long before the country became an independent nation. Mughal Emperor Akbar the Great set up the first workshops for the production of carpets in present-day Lahore in the 16th century. As Persian weavers supervised many of these workshops, carpet designs were heavily influenced by those of Persia. In the years that followed, weaving in the region developed at an impressive pace. After the partition of British India in 1947, many carpet weavers migrated from India and settled around the large weaving centers located in and around the cities of Lahore and Karachi. Cricket. Cricket is an ancient and complex game and has a huge following in Pakistan. The origins of cricket are unknown, but a version of the game is believed to have been played in England by the 13th century. The sport was introduced to India and present-day Pakistan by British settlers during the 18th century. Today, cricket is played throughout Pakistan at local, provincial, and national levels. In addition, the country often competes against England, Australia, New Zealand, India, South Africa, and the West Indies in international or test matches. A complicated game. Cricket is played by two teams of 11 players, each on a large field known as a ground. The aim of the game is for one side to score more runs than the other team. The main action takes place at the center of the ground on a pitch, which is 66 feet long and 10 feet wide. Centered at either end of the pitch is a 9-inch wide wicket, consisting of 3 thin stumps, or poles, placed upright in the ground. On top of the stumps are 2 balls, or crosspieces, balanced in grooves in the stumps. The batting team places 1 batsman at each wicket. The first batsman is known as the striker, and his partner is called the non-striker. As a pair, the batsmen try to make as many runs as possible without being put out or dismissed. The non-batting team consists of a bowler, a wicket-keeper, and 9 fielders. The bowler and wicket-keeper face each other at opposite wickets. The fielders position themselves roughly in 2 rings around the striker. The bowler bowls the ball to the batsman from the opposite wicket in a series of 6, sometimes 8 balls called overs. When an over is completed, the wicket-keeper moves to the other wicket, and a different bowler begins bowling to the batsman's partner at the opposing wicket. The bowler tries to retire the batsman by breaking the wicket or knocking down the balls of the batsman's wicket. Each side has 2 innings that are usually taken alternatively. An innings is completed when 10 batsmen have been dismissed. The remaining batsman who no longer has a partner is declared not out. Hunza, a mountain kingdom. With majestic snow-capped mountains, vast glaciers, and beautiful orchards, Hunza is well known for its picturesque beauty as well as the longevity of its people. Located in the northern tip of Pakistan, Hunza lies in the Pakistan-controlled part of Jammu and Kashmir and is near the borders of China and Afghanistan. For hundreds of years, Hunza was an isolated state ruled by a emir or prince. By the end of the 19th century, however, the kingdom had become a princely state that was protected by the government of British India. Pakistan gained control of the area in 1949. The Mir was allowed to rule over local matters until 1974, when Pakistan took over complete control. For about 960 years, this small kingdom was ruled by the same family known as the Mirs of Hunza. A long life. The people of Hunza are called Hunzakuts. The majority of the population is Muslim and speaks mainly Burushaski, although Urdu and English are also understood. Most Hunzakuts are farmers who grow crops such as barley, grapes, plums, and wheat. Women produce traditional handicrafts and beautiful hand-woven woolen cloth called patu. This colorful, intricate form of embroidery is used to make ladies' caps, gowns, and waistcoats. Hunzakuts are world famous for their longevity, as most of the population lies over the age of 90. The Hunzakuts believe that their stress-free lifestyle, mineral-rich mountain water, and simple diet contribute to their long life. This low-fat diet consists of fruits such as apricots and peaches, grains, nuts, and vegetables. Legends of a Kingdom. According to one legend, the Mirs of Hunza are descended directly from Alexander the Great. Another popular legend has it that the Hunzakuts are descended from 3 soldiers from the army of Alexander the Great, who settled in the area that is now Hunza in the 300s BCE with their Persian wives. The Indus River. With the length of about 1,800 miles, the Indus River is the chief river of Pakistan. The Indus is also the source of one of the largest irrigation systems in the world, and its life-giving waters sustain an important agricultural economy. The river's course. The Indus River rises in southwestern Tibet and flows northwest between the Himalaya and Karakoram ranges. The river plunges through some of the world's deepest gorges and scenic valleys as it twists among the mountains. The river crosses the western border of Jammu and Kashmir and then turns south and southwest to enter Pakistan. Flowing as a rapid mountain stream, the river eventually enters Punjab, where it receives waters from its 5 main tributaries. After receiving these waters, the Indus becomes much wider and flows at a slow speed, depositing large quantities of silt along its course. The river then breaks into distributaries that drain into the Arabian Sea. River of Life. Irrigation from the waters of the Indus River has supported the basis for successful agriculture for thousands of years. Pakistan's most densely populated region is the irrigated plains of Punjab province. This province is also the country's main agricultural area. Wheat, corn, rice, millet, dates, and fruits are the chief crops. The Indus also provides irrigation for millions of acres of arid land in the province of Sindh. The Indus and its tributaries are used extensively for the generation of hydroelectric power. The Tarbela Dam, located northwest of Rawalpindi, is the world's largest earth-filled dam and has the capacity to generate 3,478 megawatts of electricity. Although the river brings great benefits to the regions it irrigates, these areas are prone to flooding during the rainy monsoon season. In 1992, flooding in the northern area of the Indus was the worst it had been for almost a century, killing over 2,000 people and damaging crops, roads, and bridges. An endangered species. The Indus River is home to the Indus River dolphin, one of the rarest mammals in the world. The dolphin originally inhabited the entire Indus River system, but the construction of dams and barrages along the river has split the population into small groups, degraded habitat, and prevented migration. In an attempt to save the Indus River dolphin, the government of Sindh province has declared the mammal a legally protected species and has established the Indus River Dolphin Reserve. Muhammad Iqbal. Muhammad Iqbal is Pakistan's most famous poet. Also a philosopher, Iqbal is credited with being the first to project the concept of a separate Muslim state in the Indian subcontinent. Iqbal was born on November 9, 1877 in Sialkot, India, now in Pakistan, into a family of small merchants. After attending government college in Lahore, Iqbal studied philosophy at Cambridge University and qualified as a barrister in London before receiving a doctorate from the University of Munich. He then returned to Lahore to practice law. Iqbal, however, gained a national reputation for his Persian and Urdu language poetry. The power of poetry. Iqbal's early poetry supported Indian nationalism. Upon his return from Europe, however, his poems and essays promoted the revival of Islam. He originally wrote in Urdu, but began to write in Persian as well, so that his writings would appeal to the entire Muslim world. His first Persian poem was Asrar-i or The Secrets of the Self. Its sequel, Ramuz-i or The Mysteries of Selflessness, was published in 1918. Through his poetry, Iqbal urged a regeneration of Islam through the love of God and as active development of the self. He also encouraged Muslims to embrace the ideals of brotherhood, justice, and service. In a society where it was customary for people to memorize and recite poetry, his works became well known even among the lesser educated and illiterate classes. Iqbal's masterpiece is widely considered to be Javidnama, or the Song of Eternity. Written in 1932, the poem is similar in theme to Dante's Divine Comedy, because it traces the poet's ascent through all realms of thought and experience, guided by the 13th century mystic Jalal ad-Din Rumi. In the late 1920s, Iqbal had become actively involved with the Muslim League, an organization that protected the rights of Indian Muslims. In his presidential address to the Muslim League in 1930, Iqbal made a famous speech in which he suggested that the Muslims of northwestern India should demand a separate nation for themselves. This proposal was the first step toward the eventual formation of Pakistan. The death of a poet. Iqbal died in Lahore on April 21, 1938, 2 years before the Muslim League voted for the idea of Pakistan. Although he died before his dream could be realized, Iqbal played a key role in creating the idea of a separate homeland for Indian Muslims. Jammu and Kashmir, a divided region. Located in the northern part of the Indian subcontinent, Jammu and Kashmir, commonly known as Kashmir, is currently divided between 3 neighboring countries, Pakistan, India, and China. The territory lies at the heart of tensions between Pakistan and India, and its northern border is also disputed by China. The history. The conflict began in 1947 when the Indian subcontinent was split along religious lines. Under the partition plan in the Indian Independence Act of 1947, Kashmir was free to accede to either Pakistan or India. Maharaja Hari Singh, the ruler of Kashmir at that time, was Hindu, while most of his subjects were Muslim. Although the Maharaja wanted Kashmir to remain independent, he eventually ceded the land to India on October 28, 1947. 3 wars. Pakistan did not accept the accession as legal and argued that the region should have become part of Pakistan because most Kashmiris were Muslim. Indian and Pakistani forces fought their first war over Kashmir from 1947 to 1948. After the United Nations intervened, a ceasefire agreement between the 2 nations was concluded in January 1949. Under the agreement, a line of control, or LOC, was drawn up, with 65% of the territory under Indian control and the remaining 37% with Pakistan. This partition was regarded as a temporary measure but still exists today. Subsequent efforts by the UN to hold a plebiscite have been unsuccessful. Heavy fighting broke out between the 2 sides in 1965 and again in 1971. Following the Simla Agreement of 1972, both countries vowed to resolve the Kashmir issue through peaceful means and to respect the LOC that resulted from the ceasefire of December 1971. A continuing stalemate. The Kashmir problem is far from over as violence in the war-torn region continues to escalate. With the emergence of pro-Pakistan and pro-independence guerrillas since 1989 and increasingly frequent clashes between Indian and Pakistani troops, An estimated 30,000 soldiers and civilians were killed during the 1990s. Today, about 80,000 Indian and Pakistani troops currently face each other along the Yellow Sea. Muhammad Ali Jinnah. Through tireless effort and complete devotion, Muhammad Ali Jinnah helped bring about the creation of an independent nation for the Muslim population of British India in 1947. Since then, he has been considered the father of Pakistan. Born in Karachi, then in India, on December 25, 1876, Jinnah first entered politics in 1906 when he participated in the Calcutta session of the Indian National Congress, a political organization that was working for Indian autonomy from British rule. He began his long and illustrious parliamentary career 4 years later when he was elected to the Imperial Legislative Council. Believing that Hindu-Muslim religious conflicts could be overcome, Jinnah's ultimate goal was to create a united India. The ambassador of Hindu-Muslim unity. In 1916, Jinnah was hailed as the ambassador of Hindu-Muslim unity due to his key role in bringing about the Lucknow Pact. The pact was a united demand by the Indian National Congress and the All India Muslim League for the transfer of greater political power from the British. One important right to emerge from the pact was the principle of separate electorates for Indian Muslims. By 1920, Mohandas K. Gandhi had emerged as a powerful political figure. His non-cooperation movement, which was a mass campaign to boycott all aspects of British rule in India, led Jinnah to resign from both the League and the Congress in 1920. Nevertheless, Jinnah continued to believe in the possibility of Hindu-Muslim unity. He attended the Round Table conferences in London, which discussed India's political future. Frustrated with the rejection of his compromise proposals, Jinnah moved to England until 1935. Jinnah was persuaded to return to British India and reorganize the Muslim League, formerly the All India Muslim League, for the elections to be held under the Government of India Act of 1935. Jinnah's hope of cooperation between the League and the Congress ended in 1937, when in the elections, the Congress gained an absolute majority in 6 provinces and rejected Jinnah's proposal to form coalition provincial governments. As a result, tension between Hindu and Muslim Indians grew rapidly. Founder of Pakistan. Although Jinnah had supported the idea for a united India for most of his political career, he soon acknowledged that a separate Muslim nation was the only way Muslim interests could be protected. Under Jinnah's leadership, the Muslim League adopted a resolution to create a separate Muslim state called Pakistan in March 1940. Capturing the imagination of Indian Muslims, the creation of the new country would mean the preservation of their religious and cultural traditions and more economic opportunities for the Muslim middle classes. The Congress rejected the resolution, and the British wanted the Indian subcontinent to remain politically unified. Jinnah's skill and tenacity, however, made the dream of Muslim Indians a reality when both the Congress and the British government finally accepted the partitioning of British India and the creation of independent Pakistan in 1947. Jinnah became the first Governor-General of Pakistan on August 14, 1947, although he died shortly after the establishment of the new state on September 11, 1948. Jinnah was and still is revered by Pakistanis as Qaid-e-Azam, great leader. Junoon. Dubbed by many as one of the biggest bands in the world, Junoon is the most popular band in Pakistan, at least at the time of this publication. The name of the group is taken from the Urdu word Junoon, meaning passion, and it is the band's passion for its music that has stirred the emotions of so many young Pakistanis. Consisting of Salman Ahmad, Ali Asmat, and Brian O'Connell, Junoon plays an eclectic brand of music that mixes the mystical Urdu poetry of Sufi saints with Punjabi and Sindhi folk music and rock and roll of the West. Junoon first made an impact on the Pakistani music scene in 1996 when its single Jazba-e Junoon became Pakistan's anthem for the Cricket World Cup. Since then, the band has steadily increased in popularity. The band members have never shied away from controversy, and they have faced heavy criticism from successive governments. Their music and videos were banned by the governments of Benazir Bhutto and Nawaz Sharif, and the group was prohibited from performing at large-scale concerts. Despite these setbacks, Junoon's popularity continued to skyrocket. All restrictions against the group were lifted after the military government of General Musharraf came to power in 1999. More than just a band. Not only does Junoon's music entertain millions of fans, it has also done much to bring pressing social issues to the attention of its young audience. As a band, the members have spoken out against nuclear weapons and urged for unity around the world. For their efforts, they have won accolades from international organizations and received an award from the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization for their achievements toward peace in South Asia, particularly between Pakistan and India. Most recently, guitarist and songwriter Salman Ahmad was appointed by the UN to be their national spokesperson for the 2001 campaign against HIV/AIDS in Pakistan. By selecting Ahmad, the UN hopes to make Pakistanis aware of acquired immune deficiency syndrome and the human immunodeficiency virus that leads to AIDS. K2. Reaching an elevation of 28,252 feet, K2 is the world's second highest mountain after Mount Everest. The mountain, which forms part of the Karakoram Range, straddles the border between China and Jammu and Kashmir. Pakistan currently controls the area in which K2 lies. Regarded by many mountaineers as the ultimate climb, K2 was discovered and measured by Colonel T.G. Montgomery of the Survey of India in 1856. Following its discovery, the mountain was named K2 because it was the second peak to be measured in the Karakoram Range. In 1861, the peak was unofficially named Mount Godwin Austen, after the peak's first surveyor, Colonel H.H. Godwin Austen. Failed attempts. The first attempt to climb K2 was made by an Anglo-Swiss expedition in 1902. The team tried to reach the summit via the mountain's northeastern ridge, but only managed to ascend to 18,600 feet. An Italian expedition followed 7 years later. Led by Luigi Amadeo, Duke d'Abruzzi, the expedition reached about 20,000 feet via the southeastern ridge, later named the Abruzzi Ridge, before the team conceded defeat. In 1938 and 1939, 2 American expeditions ascended K2 via the Abruzzi Ridge, reaching about 26,000 feet and 27,500 feet respectively. American Charles Houston, who had led the unsuccessful 1938 expedition, failed again to reach the summit in 1953. K2, however, did not remain unconquerable for much longer. Success at last. In 1954, an Italian expedition led by Ardito Desio began its ascent of K2. After battling severe weather conditions and overcoming various setbacks, including the death of one of the guides, 2 team members, Achille Campagnoni and Lino Lacidelli, eventually reached the summit at 6 p.m. on July 31st. Wanting the whole team to be credited with the success, Desio did not allow the names of the 2 climbers to be made public until the team had returned to Italy. Karachi. The largest city and principal seaport in Pakistan, Karachi boasts an eclectic mix of modern skyscrapers, 19th century Victorian Gothic buildings, tree-lined boulevards, and dusty alleys. The city is located on the coast of the Arabian Sea and is the capital of Sindh. From humble beginnings. Kalachi Jagoth, as Karachi was then known, began as a small fishing village. By the time the settlement was captured by the British in 1839, it had developed into a trading center due to its strategic position along the coast of the Arabian Sea. Annexed in 1842, Karachi continued to develop. With the opening of the Suez Canal, which connected the Mediterranean and Red Seas in 1869, Karachi's importance as a seaport grew. By 1914, it had become the largest grain exporting port of the British Empire. When Pakistan became an independent nation in 1947, Karachi became the capital and principal port of the country, as well as an industrial, commercial, and administrative center. The city remained the seat of government until 1959, when Rawalpindi served as a provincial capital until Islamabad became the country's permanent capital city in 1967. A city of wonders. Modern Karachi delights visitors with its mix of old and modern architecture. Popular attractions include the Mausoleum of Quaid-e-Azam, or Muhammad Ali Jinnah, the National Museum, the Sindh Legislative Assembly buildings, and the city's numerous bazaars. The National Museum houses an amazing collection of artifacts from the early Indus Valley civilization, as well as pieces of Greco-Buddhist art of Gandhara, a region of ancient India that is now in northwestern Pakistan. Empress Market is probably the most well-known bazaar in Karachi. First opened in 1889, the market houses hundreds of shops and stalls that sell handicrafts, such as copper and brass works, inlaid woodwork, lacquerwork, printed and embroidered cloth, leather products, and jewelry, as well as meat, fruits, and vegetables. The city's parks and surrounding beaches are ideal for those who want to get away from the hustle and bustle of city life. Magnificent mosques. Mosques play a pivotal role in the lives of most Pakistanis and are a central feature of every city, town, and village. Considered by many as the nation's greatest works of art, some of the country's most impressive mosques date back to the Mughal period, when Islamic architecture and art flourished to new heights. Throughout the centuries, Mughal designs continued to be imitated. A new style of mosque, however, has emerged in recent years that is moving away from traditional Mughal forms. The Wazir Khan Mosque. Wazir Khan Mosque is one of the most beautiful mosques in Pakistan. Made of brick, the mosque is faced with mosaics of brightly colored glazed tiles depicting Mughal floral motifs, arabesques, and calligraphic panels. The interior of the mosque is decorated with rich and elaborate frescoes and enamel mosaics. In addition, its floor is artistically paved with bricks that form intricate geometrical patterns. The mosque itself is divided into 5 compartments, each opening into a large courtyard and covered by a dome. The central of these, the main prayer hall, is marked by a framed portal that protrudes from the facade. Octagonal minarets standing at each corner of the courtyard dominate the mosque. The Shah Faisal Mosque. Shah Faisal Mosque in Islamabad is a perfect example of the new style of mosque that has emerged in Pakistan. Its tent-like structure and slim minarets represent more modest and graceful forms of Muslim architecture. The outside walls are faced with marble and the interior is decorated with blue mosaics. The prayer hall has been designed to accommodate 10,000 worshippers, and the covered porticos and verandas can hold an additional 24,000. The mosque's main courtyard has space for another 40,000 worshippers. Considered to be the world's largest mosque, Shah Faisal Mosque was designed by a Turkish architect and financed largely by donations from Saudi Arabia. Shah Faisal Mosque is not only a place of worship, it also houses an Islamic research center, a library, and a museum. Musical traditions. The musical traditions of Pakistan are rich and diverse and have blended styles and rhythms that originated from many other countries, including Afghanistan and India. Popular instruments. A wide variety of exciting instruments are used to play traditional Pakistani music. The tabla is a pair of small drums that consists of a small right-hand drum and a larger left-hand drum. The right-hand drum is usually made of wood, while the left-hand drum is made of iron, copper, aluminum, steel, or clay. The large black spot on each of the playing surfaces creates the bell-like timbre characteristic of the instrument. The sitar is a large guitar-like instrument. It has a long, broad, fretted neck and a small pearl-shaped body. Due to its 6 to 7 main strings and 9 to 13 sympathetic strings, The sitar can create a large variety of sounds. Originally from Afghanistan, the rabab is similar to a banjo. It is played by plucking the strings and creates short, fast sounds. The sarangi is a small stringed instrument that is carved from a single piece of wood. Most sarangis have 3 playing strings that are played with a bow. The harmonium, or baja, was originally brought to the Indian subcontinent by the British in the 19th century. It resembles an organ and has hand-pumped bellows. The musician plays the keyboard with the right hand, while the left hand pumps the bellows. The bansuri is a bamboo or reed flute used traditionally in folk music. Sounds and rhythms. A distinct form of Pakistani traditional music is qawwali, a type of Islamic religious music. Unlike classical performances that revolve around one person, a group usually performs a qawwali. Within the group is one main singer or qawwal and a number of supporting vocalists. Common musical instruments that accompany a qawwali include the tabla, harmonium, sarangi, and rabab. The audience also participates in the performance and claps to help create the rhythm. The pace of the music gradually increases until a state of extreme excitement is produced. Today, many new forms of music are emerging in Pakistan. Some of these styles are extensions of traditional forms, while others combine traditional and Western music to create new and exciting sounds and rhythms. The snow leopard. Making its home in Central Asia, the elegant and agile snow leopard is among the most secretive of large carnivores. Shy by nature, this member of the cat family is rarely seen in the wild because its fur enables it to blend in well with its surroundings. Nevertheless, this majestic animal has been endangered since the 1960s. A solitary animal. The snow leopard makes its home in the steep, rocky terrain of the northern mountainous areas of Pakistan. Weighing up to 165 pounds, the animal has gray fur with dark rosettes and spots. This fur, which is long and thick, helps keep it warm. A female snow leopard usually has 2 or 3 cubs that hunt with their mother through their first winter. Once a snow leopard reaches adulthood, however, it shuns companionship and lives alone. The animal builds its den in places with good views, such as cliff ledges, so that it can look out for enemies. The snow leopard is an opportunistic predator. Its most common prey include wild sheep and goats, but it also eats marmots, hares, and domestic sheep and goats. Endangered. The continued destruction of the animal's habitat and the spread of human settlement in its hunting ranges have led to a reduction in the number of wild animals that form the snow leopard's usual prey. As a result, the snow leopard has turned its attention increasingly toward domestic sheep and goats. Farmers desperate to protect their livestock often shoot or poison this unwanted predator. Illegal poaching is another major threat facing the snow leopard. For years, the snow leopard has been regarded as a highly prized catch due to its valuable fur. Recent years have also seen an increase in demand for snow leopard bones in Eastern medicine due to the decline in availability of tiger bones. What is being done? The Pakistani government and international organizations such as the International Snow Leopard Trust acknowledge the need to protect the endangered snow leopard. They aim to set up programs designed to raise the awareness of local communities about this rare animal. Buffer zones have also been set up to establish extra distance between the snow leopard's natural habitat and nearby towns and villages. Women in Pakistan. The role of women in Pakistan society is extremely complex. While some of the country's leading politicians, journalists, and teachers are women, attempts to increase educational and healthcare provisions to the country's female population continue to be hampered by traditional attitudes toward the role of women. Traditionally, the women's place in Pakistani society is low and is restricted to the performance of domestic chores and being a dutiful wife and mother. This long-held view has meant that few girls attend school, and the literacy rate of the female population stands at 29% as of the publication of this book. The main reason for this inferior status is the concept of purda, or the seclusion of women. A woman in purdah spends most of her life within her home. On the rare occasions that she does leave her home, she must wear a burqa, a long garment that covers her from head to toe, and be accompanied by a male relative. Purdah is observed by wealthy peasant and landowner households and in urban families where it is not necessary for the women to work. Poor rural women, especially in Punjab and Sindh provinces, do not observe purdah because they are expected to work on the farms. Change is happening gradually. In the country's metropolitan cities, more and more women from the higher classes have stopped observing purdah. These women have begun to pursue academic studies and have gained entry into the workforce. Women's organizations such as the All Pakistan Women's Association work hard to fight for the rights of women. Over the years, these organizations have faced many challenges and have been involved in numerous programs aimed at increasing female literacy, gaining access to employment opportunities, and changing the perception of women's roles and status. The government has also made some attempts to change the position of women in society. At the Fourth World Conference on Women held in Beijing in 1995, Pakistan approved a course of action to improve conditions for its female population and signed the Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women. Although some progress has been made, the majority of Pakistani women still have a long way to go before they achieve some form of liberation from their traditional roles in society. And that's where we're going to end tonight. Thank you so much for watching. There's some tape that fell off this book. Okay. It's a very old book. Anyway, I hope you found this video relaxing and educational. More is bound to fall off anyway. And I hope that you have a very good night. Good night.